I know what you're saying.
Pimp gotta be out there every motherfucking day keeping us bitches in line.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny! That iconic line echoes as I reflect on South Park's villains. Eric Cartman, the show's most notorious antagonist, taught me something unexpected about myself. While researching the psychology behind these characters, I recognized unsettling patterns in my own behavior and the world around us. This video explores how South Park's villains mirror real-world personalities and social issues. We'll examine their dark side, analyzing how they reflect societal problems and human nature. Join me on this journey of self-reflection as we uncover surprising insights about our capacity for good and evil. You might be shocked by what we discover about ourselves along the way. In South Park, Colorado, the line between hero and villain isn't just blurry, it's practically non-existent. This fictional mountain town serves as a microcosm of our world, where morality exists in shades of gray rather than black and white. To understand the psychology of South Park's villains, we first need to establish a spectrum of evil. But how do you measure malevolence in a place where everyone's a little bit twisted? The villainy spectrum in South Park ranges from petty antagonists to deeply disturbing characters. At the shallow end, we find Tweek's parents, who add methamphetamine to their coffee to boost sales. Their actions, while harmful, lack grand schemes or deep-seated malice. They represent morally compromised figures we encounter in everyday life. Moving deeper, we encounter Mr. Garrison, whose arc mirrors real-world political figures who exploit identity politics. His transformation from incompetent teacher to US president showcases manipulation and the exploitation of others' vulnerabilities. This behavior aligns with traits of borderline personality disorder characterized by unstable self-image and interpersonal relationships. In murkier waters, we find Saddam Hussein, reimagined as Satan's manipulative lover. This portrayal explores themes of toxic relationships and emotional manipulation, representing a more insidious form of evil that preys on insecurities. At the deep end, truly disturbing characters like Scott Tenorman emerge. The infamous episode where Cartman orchestrates Scott eating his own parents pushes the boundaries of villainous behavior, forcing viewers to confront the darkest potential of human nature. South Park's genius lies in blurring the line between antagonist and protagonist. Characters like Randy Marsh oscillate between loving parent and agent of chaos, challenging us to consider how normal individuals become unwitting villains when caught up in societal pressures or personal obsessions. The psychological tactics employed by South Park's villains mirror real-world phenomena. Cartman uses manipulation and gaslighting, while the member berries exploit nostalgia and fear of change. These strategies reflect cognitive biases and mass hysteria, inviting viewers to reflect on the psychological underpinnings of harmful behavior. Eric Cartman stands out as the most psychologically complex character. His actions range from petty selfishness to shocking cruelty, embodying South Park's moral ambiguity. Cartman's character is a study in narcissism and sociopathy, displaying traits of antisocial personality disorder such as lack of empathy, manipulative behavior, and grandiose self-importance. By presenting these exaggerated characters and their psychological complexities, South Park invites viewers to examine the nature of villainy and morality in a nuanced way, challenging our perceptions of good and evil in both fictional and real-world contexts. Every villain has an origin story, and in South Park, these beginnings are as twisted as the characters themselves. While we've explored the depths of Cartman's complex psyche, it's time to unravel the threads that weave together the tapestry of South Park's most notorious antagonists. What transforms an ordinary citizen of this quirky mountain town into a force of evil? The journey from playground to psychopath in South Park often begins with seemingly innocent circumstances. Mr. Garrison's path to villainy stems from societal pressures and personal insecurities. His struggles with identity lead to inappropriate classroom behavior and puppet-aided outbursts, laying the groundwork for his eventual antagonistic role. Childhood trauma shapes many of South Park's villains, mirroring real-world psychological studies. Scott Tenorman's transformation from typical teenager to vengeful adversary is catalyzed by the brutal murder of his parents, orchestrated by Cartman. This extreme trauma echoes findings from criminology research, which often links severe childhood experiences to later antisocial behaviors. South Park's isolated setting and exposure to bizarre events create an environment ripe for psychological instability. Sheila Broflovsky's crusade against Canada in the South Park movie exemplifies how ordinary citizens can become antagonists when swept up in moral panics. The show's approach to villain origins often subverts traditional narratives. Characters like Randy Marsh oscillate between protagonist and antagonist roles, suggesting that the capacity for villainy exists within everyone. This aligns with psychological theories that emphasize situational factors in determining behavior, rather than fixed personality traits. Trey Parker and Matt Stone use these origin stories to comment on broader societal issues. Mr. Garrison's journey from conflicted teacher to Trump-like presidential figure critiques political opportunism and the exploitation of identity politics. South Park's villains often display traits associated with antisocial personality disorder and narcissism. However, the show goes beyond simple diagnosis, exploring how these traits interact with societal pressures and personal experiences to create complex, multifaceted antagonists. Mr. Garrison's story encapsulates South Park's approach to villain development. His journey from repressed homosexual to openly gay man, then to a transgender woman, and finally to a regressive, bigoted politician is driven by a mix of internal conflict and external pressures. Each transformation results in a character whose villainy stems from deep-seated insecurity and a desperate need for acceptance and power. South Park's nuanced approach to villain origins suggests that villainy isn't born from a single defining moment, but rather cultivated through a complex interplay of personal choices, societal influences, and psychological vulnerabilities. This challenges viewers to consider the factors that shape their own moral compasses and the potential for both good and evil that exists within everyone. In the funhouse mirror of South Park, villains aren't just antagonists. They're reflections of our society's deepest flaws and fears. As we peel back the layers of these animated adversaries, a disturbing truth emerges. The line between cartoon caricature and real-world critique is thinner than we might like to admit. South Park's villains have evolved significantly over the show's quarter-century run. Early antagonists like Saddam Hussein served primarily as vehicles for shock value and dark humor. As the series matured, characters like Mr. Garrison transformed into complex embodiments of societal issues, mirroring political opportunism and identity politics exploitation. This shift reflects a broader trend in South Park's storytelling. Creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone increasingly use villains for pointed social commentary. PC Principal, introduced in later seasons, initially appears as a parody of politically correct culture, but becomes a nuanced critique of how well-intentioned movements can become oppressive when taken to extremes. South Park's rapid response to current events allows its antagonists to embody contemporary anxieties and controversies. During the 2016 US presidential election, Mr. Garrison's character arc paralleled Donald Trump's rise, offering biting commentary on American politics. The show's critique extends beyond politics. Corporate villains like the executives in the Chipotle episode serve as stand-ins for concerns about corporate greed and consumer manipulation. These characters, while exaggerated, often hit uncomfortably close to home, forcing viewers to confront real-world parallels. Perhaps most unsettling is how South Park uses its villains to explore societal fears and anxieties. The member berries personify the dangerous allure of nostalgia and its potential to fuel regressive ideologies. By giving literal voice to rose-tinted memories of the past, these characters become a powerful metaphor for the psychological underpinnings of populist movements. South Park's villains often emerge from within the community itself, suggesting that the potential for villainy exists in even the most ordinary settings. This approach creates a unique form of engagement with the audience. As viewers laugh at outrageous behavior, they're simultaneously forced to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature and society. Recent seasons have introduced characters like SkankHunt42, an anonymous internet troll embodying the darker aspects of online culture. Through this character, the show explores timely issues of cyberbullying, online radicalization, and the impact of anonymity on behavior. As South Park continues to evolve, so does its gallery of villains. The true genius of these characters lies in their ability to adapt and change, mirroring the rapid shifts in our own society. What began as simple antagonists have become complex reflections of our world, challenging viewers to think critically about the forces shaping our culture. As South Park enters its 26th season, the show's villains have evolved dramatically, mirroring societal shifts. What began as a crude animated series with simplistic antagonists has become a biting cultural commentary, blurring the line between hero and villain. This evolution reflects changing audience tastes and a fundamental shift in how we perceive evil in media. Early villains like Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh, were one-dimensional characters designed for shock value. As the series progressed, antagonists became more complex. PC Principle, introduced in later seasons, challenges viewers to reconsider their stance on political correctness and social justice movements. The transformation of Randy Marsh exemplifies this evolution. Initially a background character, Randy became a central figure, driving plots around marijuana legalization and corporate exploitation through Tegrity Farms. This shift allowed South Park to explore nuanced societal issues through a familiar character. South Park's ability to respond to current events has shaped its approach to villainy. Mr. Garrison's character arc paralleled Donald Trump's presidency, offering immediate commentary on political developments. Similarly, the Man-Bear-Pig storyline evolved from a joke about Al Gore's climate change warnings to a serious exploration of environmental denial. The show's portrayal of corporate villains has grown more sophisticated. Recent episodes explore the insidious nature of tech giants and social media platforms, with characters like Mark Zuckerberg portrayed as bizarre, incomprehensible entities, reflecting public concerns about data privacy. The increasing ambiguity between good and evil is perhaps the most significant evolution. Eric Cartman, once a straightforward antagonist, has developed into a complex anti-hero, challenging viewers to question their own moral compasses. Fan reactions and societal changes have influenced this evolution. Early villains often relied on offensive stereotypes, but recent antagonists are more likely to embody ideologies or social trends, demonstrating a more sophisticated approach to satire in response to changing sensitivities. The introduction of characters like Skankhunt42, an anonymous internet troll, reflects growing anxieties about online behavior and social media's impact on mental health. By personifying these abstract threats, South Park makes complex issues accessible to a wide audience. Visualize South Park's villains as a tree with roots in simple stereotypes and shock value, branching out over time into complex, multi-layered characters that reflect the intricacies of modern society. Each new branch represents a fresh approach to villainy, adapting to the changing landscape of social issues and audience expectations. Looking ahead, South Park's villains may continue to evolve, potentially exploring themes of artificial intelligence, climate crisis, or the blurring lines between reality and virtual worlds. As society grapples with new challenges, South Park's antagonists will likely adapt, serving as a mirror to our collective anxieties and moral dilemmas. As we conclude our journey through South Park's gallery of villains, we're left with a challenging question. What do these characters reveal about the nature of evil in our world? From petty antagonists to genuinely disturbing figures, they serve as mirrors reflecting our own potential for malevolence. They challenge us to reconsider our moral judgments and examine our roles in perpetuating societal issues. By presenting evil in exaggerated forms, South Park compels us to confront subtle manifestations of these behaviors in our daily lives. This exploration offers insight into human nature and the societies we create. As we laugh at these animated antagonists, we're invited to think critically about the real-world issues they represent. What villain resonated most with you? Share your thoughts and continue the conversation about South Park's satirical brilliance.